Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Spencer, and this is the next episode of the CA Ultra podcast. With me, as always, is Chris. Chris, how's it going?
It's going great, Spencer. Just came off an awesome week of Overwatch, which some of you guys may have not seen, and I'm ready to see Ultra come back with a good win.
Yeah, exactly. So for those of you who don't know, the Toronto Defiant, our Overwatch franchise, just got a top 4 finish in their tournament, and I'm hoping that the Toronto Ultra can channel their inner Defiant and also get a top 4 finish, because as most of you guys know, we are currently not in the top 8, and I believe the bottom 4 start in the losers bracket for champs. So finishing top 4 at this tournament is actually going to be a really big thing, and I think / hope that the Toronto Ultra can do it. So as always,
definitely can.
Yeah, let's just get into it. Let's just hop right into this. Chris, how are the Toronto Ultra going to really become and get into that top 4 spot at this up and coming tournament?
Well, let me be clear. If we're going to be getting into that top 8 spot, I think we'll be taking Optic Gaming's place. And I think that's totally possible. We have been, not that it matters where we are, but Optic Gaming is at the similar skill level to us. So my guess is that we can get in that top 8 position. And I think we have quite a favorable schedule in this upcoming New York Subliners Home Series.
Yeah. So let's get into the bracket here. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the bracket, we actually start off by playing the Paris Legion in round 1, which I think is more than a winnable game, right? So I think that the way to beat Paris really, truly, I think is going to be, I think we finally have the starting 5 solidified. I think it's our best starting 5 that we've fielded so far. And for those of you who haven't followed the leaks, I think it's going to be Methods on the AR with Classic, Kleenex, Cammy, and Bance. So finally, we're starting to play with some pace. I know Bance, yes, Cammy, and Kleenex are very fast-paced players. Kleenex had an incredibly impressive performance in the most recent tournament, and I'd like to see him build upon that, but also improve upon it, right? I mean, he had an impressive performance, but let's not kid ourselves. It was still his first game. It was his debut match with the Toronto Ultra, and he hadn't had a ton of time to scrim and practice. So I'm really hoping that with more time to sort of prepare, that he can really get in the thick of things and really build that chemistry, so that I know we saw his hardpoint do really well, but I think with more practice and more sort of time to gel with the team, you're going to start to see his search and destroy and his domination improve as well, as we know that those are more like team-centric sort of modes. So if he can take his hardpoint and turn that into a domination and search and destroy performance, I think this team has a legitimate shot at getting top 4.
I totally agree. And, I would say that it looks like there's a possibility that another person has been switched out. So you originally think that there may be another lack of team chemistry, but we've had a couple of weeks. We've had a couple of weeks to do scrims and practices. Yeah. So I don't see team chemistry as being an issue. And yeah, I hope that when we play, we can do as well as on hardpoint as we did in the last tournament this time around. Because I know that our hardpoint performance, which was pretty good in the last tournament, was kind of a blip on our performance radar in terms of how we've been performing in the past. I know that when we haven't been doing traditionally that well on hard points, and that's kind of been one of our issues. And now it seems like we're a little bit more evened out across the board.
Especially with Kleenex in there, I agree. I think he helps a lot. And I think actually replacing, because Metals had a really rough tournament in the most previous one. So if you take that other game where Metals was doing like a 0.75 KD on hardpoint, right? Like, I mean, he showed up in Search and Destroy. He's always showed up in Search and Destroy, but his hardpoints and his dominations were pretty rough in that previous tournament. And you replace him with a guy like Classic, who has been not the most consistent player, but when Classic is on, he can really take over a match and pop off. So I'm really hoping that we sort of see this team go to another level, because their weakness has always been their ability to sort of slay out. And I think Kleenex and Classic elevate that aspect of this team that they so desperately needed. And we already know that their Search and Destroy has been good. Metals has been a big reason for that, so losing him will hurt. But I'm hoping with good coaching and with a better Kleenex that we can sort of start to see this team sort of turn that around.
Yeah, so it looks like in terms of our history against Paris, looks like Cammy and Methods and Bance have had traditionally the better performance against Paris, with Methods having an overall 1.02 kill death and Bance a 1.0 kill death. So it looks like we'll be looking to those two to hopefully maintain or improve that stat. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of wins against Paris. It looks like we have done our best against Paris in hardpoint with a 2-2 win-loss record, but we're still 2 down in search and 2 down in domination.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we do have some ground to make up in terms of making sure that we play better than we did in the past against them. But I don't have any doubt that we will play better.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that, like I said, with a better roster. I think another big part of this is going to be getting the meta down correctly.
Yeah.
I know that right now with the MP5 nerfs, teams are really scrambling to sort of figure out like what is the best option to play. We see the Florida Mutineers who have been running this 2AR sort of setup very successfully, I might add. Like, I don't think we'll see Brack come in because we haven't seen him in scrims. At least that's what like the Call of Duty Intel juices on Twitter, that we are running that 4 SMG. But if we are still running the 4 SMG, which 4 SMGs are they going to be? We've seen some teams practice with the Uzi. We've seen some teams practice with the MP7. Some teams have been running the AUG, apparently. And the AUG plays a little bit more of like a M4-ish like SMG sort of hybrid. Like it's this like it's not as like SMG-E as like the MP5 or the MP7 or the Uzi, for instance. But so it'll be really interesting to see if like that becomes meta. So I think the team sort of locking that down is going to be really important, because if we're like the only one running an MP7 and the AUG is just the better gun, then I could see that being a bit of an issue with this team. But I have faith in the coaching staff. I have faith in the players. So we have no reason to believe that's going to be an issue. It'll just be interesting to see sort of what some teams bring out and if we can like match that.
Yeah, so I totally agree. I think that these recent nerfs are going to add a little bit of randomization into the game. Now, it looks like if we're looking at the bracket right now, how we're going to win this? How do you think we're going to get to
top 4?
Out of group stages at least?
I think out of group stages is incredibly doable. I actually think if this team doesn't get out of group stages, it'd be pretty disappointing. So I think beating Paris Legion is more than winnable, more than achievable, I should say. I think it's just going to be trying to be as consistent as possible. This team has shown they can hang with the best teams in the previous tournament. They took Atlanta FaZe to map 5 round 11. They were pretty close to the New York Subliners. So I think they can beat the Paris Legion. Now, beating Atlanta FaZe is going to be really hard. Obviously, it's doable. We saw them almost do it last time. Atlanta FaZe has looked a little bit more mortal since transitioning into online. So anything's possible. But I think it's okay if we lose that match as long as we come back and beat the LA Guerrillas. Because I do expect the LA Guerrillas to beat the Paris Legion, although who knows, right? Maybe Paris beats them too. That's going to be another close matchup. So whoever wins out of that, I think both those games are very winnable. Again, if Toronto just sticks to their guns, reads the meta properly, and with Kleenex, like really unlocking Kleenex and sort of like allowing him to frag out is going to be really important for this team. And if they do, I can easily see them getting out of that group stage. Now, getting out of the group stage would bring them into another top 4 position, I believe, which would be really important. And I think if they want to even go even further, they're probably going to have to upset a team like the Chicago Huntsmen, because I do expect Chicago to come out of that Group B, even though New York maybe could give them a run for their money, but I expect it to be Chicago. But I think that's also a winnable game. So this is like a really, really important game for Toronto, because even if you go up against the Chicago Huntsmen online, like we've brought them to map 5 round 11 before with an arguably worse starting 5, like building that momentum from the previous tournament. And if we can take it to the Chicago Huntsmen and get like a top 2 finish, like that's going to help us so much for the champs standings. Because again, I really want to get out of that bottom 4, because I don't think that this is a bottom 4 team. I don't think we deserve it. And a good performance in this tournament will go a long way, especially since I do think it's our easier one when you look at the Toronto homestand, where we have to go up against teams like the Florida Mutineers, Chicago Huntsmen, Atlanta FaZe, Dallas Empire, right? Like that final series is stacked. So if we're gonna make a run, it's gonna have to be in this tournament. So it's incredibly important that we perform our best.
Yeah, that's why I predict that. Like, I think we will need to get into a top 4 at least position if we want to still hold our hopes out for not being in the losers bracket at the start of the playoff series. Yeah. And I do think we can definitely get out of pools. I mean,
for sure,
even though we lost against OGLA or LA Guerrillas, in the past, we do have a very good record against them, with everybody going like in a positive KD apart from classics. So we're talking about Bance 1.3, Methods 1.0, Cami 1.19, Metals, he's not going to be in there, but 1.26. Like, it looks like we do have the ability to do well against them, and the traditional maps that we have won against them in the past is domination and hardpoint, and those are the maps that we're traditionally not good at. So my guess is that if we've had success with that in the past,
well, yeah, LAG is known for like a pretty good search and destroy team, I think. So
yes,
it'll be again, we'll see. This is going to be incredibly important for us to do well. So I think I actually think like a top 2 position is actually doable. I mean, winning it's going to be really tough, but like this bracket isn't super stacked. So if Toronto's going to make a run, now's the time to do it. And again, let Kleenex frag, right? Like he had some incredibly impressive performances previously. I'm really excited to see what this kid can bring with more practice under his belt. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, and I think you said that as a closing statement best there. Make sure to tune in to the first match against the Paris Legion on Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern time. That's July the 10th. And if you like this video, please feel free to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. And if you don't like it, let us know why.
Follow us on TikTok and Instagram too. We just got on there. So we do some Overwatch content, but we're also going to be doing Call of Duty content as well.
Yes.
Best of both worlds.
Short form. So if you like seeing a minute stuff, looking over thing for 1 minute, seeing our 3 keys to success, stuff like that, follow us in those areas. Yeah,
and with that out of the way, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully the Toronto Ultra can channel their inner Defiant. We can get back-to-back top 4 finishes. That's what we've deserved as Toronto fans. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. And as always, enjoy.